Every night, character name, found himself falling into a deep, unsettling dream. A dream that seemed to feel more real than anything else. It wasn't a normal dream, one of those fleeting moments of fantasy that faded when the morning light hit his eyes. No, this dream lingered, stayed with him even when he woke up, as if it had carved itself into his very soul. In this dream, he was standing in the middle of a vast forest, bathed in the soft, silvery glow of a full moon. The trees around him were tall and ancient, their branches twisting high above like gnarled fingers reaching for the sky. It was silent, almost too silent, and the air smelled fresh, earthy, like rain was just about to fall. There was something about the place that felt both familiar and strange at the same time, like he had been there before but couldn't quite remember when. But then, through the trees, she appeared. At first, it was only a flash, a shadow moving quickly in the moonlight. Character name, blinked and focused, his heartbeat quickening as he tried to make sense of the shape. What he saw took his breath away. A woman, or something that looked like a woman, but not quite. She was tall, with an athletic, lithe body that seemed to blend effortlessly with the wild surroundings. Her eyes were the most striking feature, glowing softly, like twin moons, filled with a mysterious wisdom that seemed to see right through him. Her skin was smooth, almost shimmering under the moon's light, a pale blue shade that seemed unnatural, even for a dream. Her long hair moved like it had a life of its own, flowing and swaying as if it were part of the wind itself. She wore no clothes, but her presence made it seem as if nothing else in the world mattered. She was more than just beautiful. She was otherworldly, a being from a realm that didn't quite fit into the rules of his world. And she wasn't just standing there, watching him. No, she was moving, slowly, deliberately, like a panther stalking its prey. There was a grace to her movements, a deadly calm that filled the air with tension. Each step she took seemed to make the ground beneath her feet tremble ever so slightly, as though the earth recognized her power. Character name, couldn't move. He wanted to run, to get away, but his feet felt like they were glued to the ground. He could only watch as she drew closer. When she finally stopped in front of him, their eyes locked. It was as though time itself paused for a moment. He could feel her presence deep inside him, as if she was inside his very thoughts, reading his mind. Her eyes were not just looking at him. They were studying him, seeing past his outer layers, straight into his soul. And for the briefest of moments, he felt an overwhelming sense of connection, like he had known her forever, even though he had never seen her before in his life. Then she spoke, but it wasn't with words. It was through his mind, a voice soft yet powerful, speaking in a language he couldn't understand but somehow knew. Her message was clear. You are not dreaming. This is real. And soon, you will need to understand. With those cryptic words, the dream began to fade. The forest, the Pantherwoman, and everything around him blurred into a swirling vortex of colors. He tried to scream, to hold on to her, but the dream was slipping away too fast. The last thing he saw before waking up was her eyes, still watching him with that same unspoken understanding. When character name opened his eyes, the room around him was silent. The early morning light streamed through his window, casting long shadows on the floor. But the feeling from the dream lingered, like a weight pressing on his chest. It was just a dream, he told himself, trying to shake off the sense of unease. He had vivid dreams often, but nothing like this. The strange woman, her glowing eyes, and her cryptic message. It all felt too real to be just imagination. He stood up and stretched, trying to push the dream out of his mind. But every time he closed his eyes, he could still see her, her pale blue skin, her powerful, fluid movements, and the way she had looked at him, as though she knew something he didn't. He didn't know why, but he couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the last time he would see her. As the days passed, the dreams continued, each one growing more vivid, more intense. Sometimes the Pantherwoman was there waiting for him, standing in the moonlit forest. Other times she appeared briefly, just a shadow in the corner of his eye, before vanishing before he could get a good look. But always her eyes followed him, and always the feeling of connection grew stronger. Character name. Didn't know what this meant or why it was happening. But as the nights passed, he began to feel an undeniable pull, something deep inside him, something primal, telling him that this dream, this woman, was leading him to something important, something he couldn't yet understand, but would soon. It had been a week since the strange dreams first began. Each night, character name found himself falling deeper into the strange world of the Pantherwoman. The vividness of the dreams had only grown stronger, to the point where he no longer questioned whether they were real or just his imagination. He had stopped telling himself that it was just a dream because, in his heart, he knew there was something more to it. In the dream, he would always wake up in the same place, the eerie forest with the silver moonlight casting long shadows on the ground. The trees loomed above him, like silent sentinels watching over him. But now, there was an added sense of danger in the air, a tension that hadn't been there before. The moment he stepped into the dream, it felt different, as if something had changed. He felt it in his chest, like the very air around him was thick with anticipation. And there she was, the Pantherwoman. She appeared as usual, her glowing eyes piercing through the shadows. But this time, she was not moving gracefully through the trees. She was still, standing like a predator ready to pounce, as if she were waiting for something or someone. Her gaze locked onto character name the moment he arrived. She stepped closer, her movements fluid, yet full of purpose. She did not speak this time, but her eyes seemed to communicate something he could feel deep within him. It was as if she was trying to warn him about something, to convey a message that was beyond words. As she came closer, the dream began to shift, becoming more chaotic. The peaceful forest that had once been so calm was now filled with dark, shifting shapes. There were flashes of light, like lightning, but they were unnatural, pulsing and quick, moving like creatures in the dark. The trees around him started to bend and twist, as though the very forest itself was alive, watching him, waiting for something to happen. Fear settled in his stomach, something he hadn't felt before in these dreams. He tried to call out to the Pantherwoman, to ask her what was happening, but no words came. It was as if his voice had been stolen by the dream itself. The sounds around him grew louder, low growls, the rustling of leaves, and the unmistakable sound of something large moving through the forest. The air grew heavier, and he could feel his heartbeat quicken. Then, without warning, the Pantherwoman lunged forward, her movements swift and powerful. She grabbed him by the arm, her grip tight but not painful. For the first time in the dream, she spoke, not through thoughts, but with a voice that was both soothing and urgent. "They're coming." Before he could respond, the forest exploded into chaos. Shadows leaped from the trees, monstrous figures with glowing red eyes and sharp teeth. They were nothing like anything he had seen before. They were like twisted versions of creatures, their bodies elongated and unnatural, their movements erratic. Some were large, nearly the size of bears, while others were smaller but faster, darting around the trees like predators closing in on their prey. The Pantherwoman pulled character name behind a large tree, her body pressed close to his as she shielded him from the oncoming danger. He could feel her tense muscles, her body like a coiled spring ready to strike. She glanced over her shoulder, her eyes scanning the area, every sense alert to the danger closing in. "Stay close," she ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "Do not move. Do not make a sound." He nodded, his mind racing. What were these creatures? Why were they attacking? And why had they come after him? He had no answers, only the overwhelming feeling of fear that now gripped his chest. The creatures circled the tree, their growls and snarls echoing through the air. There were too many of them. Character name could see their red eyes glowing in the darkness, their movements jerky and unpredictable. They were like shadows, their bodies shifting and twisting in ways that made him feel sick to his stomach. Then, just as quickly as they had appeared, the Pantherwoman moved again, faster than he could track. She leaped out from behind the tree, her body flowing with a natural grace that took his breath away. In an instant, she was on one of the creatures, her sharp claws raking through its side. The creature screeched in pain as it crumpled to the ground, lifeless. The others hesitated for a moment, startled by her speed and power, but they quickly regained their focus. More rushed toward her, but she was a blur of motion. Her claws tore through their bodies with precision, her movements controlled, but fierce. She fought with the skill of a hunter, each strike deadly and calculated. But for every one she took down, more seemed to appear, emerging from the shadows like a never-ending tide. "We need to leave now," she shouted, but character name was frozen in place, his eyes wide in shock. The reality of the danger had only just hit him, and the fear made it difficult to think straight. His body felt heavy, like it didn't belong to him. Without warning, the Pantherwoman grabbed him again, pulling him into her arms. She moved with the speed of a predator, dodging the creatures as they tried to close in. The forest around them blurred as they ran, her grip strong and firm as she guided him through the chaos. It felt like an eternity, running through the dark forest, with these monstrous beings on their heels. Character name's heart pounded in his chest, his breaths shallow and fast. He didn't know how long they had been running, but he could feel the panic rising, threatening to overtake him. Finally, they reached a clearing. The Pantherwoman stopped, her body tense, her eyes scanning the surroundings. She set character name down, her grip still firm around his wrist. "This is not just a dream," she said, her voice filled with urgency. "They are real. And now, they are hunting you." Character name stared at her, the weight of her words sinking in. What had started as a dream, a simple vision in the night, had become something far more terrifying. And now, he realized, there was no turning back. The next few days passed in a blur for character name. He had tried to go back to his normal life. Work, friends, the usual routine. But the memory of the dream, and of the Pantherwoman, haunted him. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her glowing eyes, her powerful, graceful movements. He could still feel the weight of her touch when she pulled him away from the creatures in the dream. He had tried to convince himself it was just his imagination, a strange side effect of stress or too much time spent in front of a screen. But deep down, he knew it was more than that. The dream had become something he couldn't shake off, something that had seeped into his waking hours. But what disturbed him the most was the growing sense that it wasn't just a dream. It felt too real, too vivid. The Pantherwoman felt real. And the creatures she fought, those dark, shadowy things, they felt real too. One afternoon, as character name walked home from the local cafe, something caught his eye, a figure standing near a tree just off the sidewalk. She was tall, with long, flowing hair that moved in the breeze. At first, he thought it was just a woman waiting for someone, but there was something about her that made him stop in his tracks. Her posture was straight, confident, but it was more than that. It was the way she held herself, like someone who was not only aware of their surroundings, but in complete control of them. As he approached, he couldn't help but notice her eyes. They were the same, those glowing, haunting eyes. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. He had seen those eyes before, in his dreams, in that forest. But now, here she was, in the middle of the city, standing so close that he could almost reach out and touch her. The woman turned her head slowly, meeting his gaze with that same calm intensity. For a moment, neither of them spoke. It was as if the world around them had fallen away, leaving only the two of them standing there, connected by something that neither of them fully understood. "You," character name stammered, unsure of what to say. You're real." The woman didn't smile, but there was a flicker of something in her eyes, something that could have been amusement or recognition. "You've seen me before," she said, her voice soft. yet carrying an air of authority. In your dreams. He nodded, still stunned by the realization that the dream wasn't just a figment of his imagination. But how? Why? What do you want from me? The Pantherwoman took a step closer, her eyes never leaving his. I'm here because of you, she said simply. You were chosen. Chosen for what? Character name? Asked, his mind racing. Why me? Why these dreams? What's going on? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked around, as if ensuring no one was watching them. She seemed out of place in the busy street, like she didn't belong in this world. He had to admit, there was something almost otherworldly about her. Come with me, she finally said. It's not safe to talk here. They're watching. Before he could respond, she turned and walked away. Hetty aimed towards an alley that ran parallel to the street. Character name hesitated for only a moment before following her. There was something magnetic about her presence, a force pulling him forward that he couldn't ignore. As they walked down the narrow alley, character name glanced around nervously, unsure of what to expect. The street was still bustling with activity, but there was a strange, heavy silence that seemed to surround them. It was as if the world outside the alley didn't exist anymore, as if they were in a bubble, separated from everything and everyone else. When they reached the end of the alley, the Pantherwoman stopped and turned to face him. I need you to listen carefully, she said, her voice low and urgent. You're not the only one who's been chosen. There are others, but you have a special connection to me. That's why I came to you in your dreams. It's the only way we could communicate. She paused, letting her words sink in. Character name was struggling to understand everything she was saying, but he couldn't deny the truth in her eyes. There was no fear in her, no hesitation, just certainty. Who are you? He asked. What are you? And what do you want with me? The Pantherwoman took a deep breath, her glowing eyes softening, though they still held a sense of mystery. I am from a faraway planet, one that's been watching Earth for a long time. My race, we have the ability to enter dreams, to communicate with certain humans. You're one of them. Why me? Character name asked again, still trying to make sense of it all. I'm just a regular guy. She shook her head, a hint of a smile on her lips. No, you're more than that. You've always been more than that. There's power inside you. Character name. It's dormant, but it's there. And I've been sent to help you awaken it. Awaken it. He echoed, feeling both confused and overwhelmed. What power? I don't. Before he could finish, the Pantherwoman raised her hand, signaling him to stop. They're here, she whispered. Suddenly, the world around them seemed to shift. The air grew thick with tension, and the hairs on the back of character name's neck stood up. He could feel it. Something was coming, something dangerous. His heart raced as he turned to look at the Pantherwoman, who was now on high alert, her eyes scanning the alleyway. And then, from the shadows, they came, figures moving swiftly, their eyes glowing red, their forms shadowy and indistinct. The creatures from his dreams. Run, the Pantherwoman hissed. Stay close. The air felt heavier as the creatures drew closer, their eyes glowing like burning embers in the dim alley. Character name's heart pounded in his chest. Fear gripped him, making his legs feel like they were rooted to the ground. He had seen these things before, in his dreams, but now they were here, real and terrifying, stalking toward him with predatory intent. Stay close, the Pantherwoman whispered urgently, her voice low but commanding. She didn't have to tell him twice. She reached out and grabbed his arm, pulling him toward her with surprising strength. There was no time to think, no time to question. His mind was in chaos, but his body reacted instinctively, following her lead. The creatures circled them, moving in slow, deliberate steps, as if savoring the moment before they struck. They were tall, their features barely visible in the dim light, but their glowing eyes pierced the shadows. Their bodies seemed to shimmer, their outlines shifting as if they were made of darkness itself. They were like predators, sizing up their prey, calculating their next move. Character name looked at the Pantherwoman. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp with focus. She seemed unbothered by the danger that surrounded them. Instead, she was studying the creatures, preparing for whatever was about to happen. He couldn't help but marvel at her composure, how she seemed to be in complete control, as if she had faced these beings countless times before. One of the creatures lunged, moving faster than character name could follow. The Pantherwoman acted instantly. She stepped to the side, her body flowing like water, and grabbed the creature by the arm, twisting it with a quick, fluid motion. It screeched in pain, its glowing eyes flashing with anger, but she was already moving again. Her movements were so fast, so precise, that it was hard for him to keep up. The creature stumbled back, disoriented, but another one took its place, charging toward them with its claws outstretched. Without hesitation, the Pantherwoman leaped into the air, her body soaring like a panther hunting its prey. She landed on the creature's back, her hands gripping its shoulders as she twisted its head with a powerful jerk. The creature let out a gurgled scream before it fell to the ground, lifeless. Character name watched in stunned silence. He had never seen anything like it. The Pantherwoman moved with such speed and precision that she seemed to be everywhere at once. Each strike was calculated, each movement a perfect blend of grace and power. She was a force of nature, a warrior unlike anything he had ever imagined. But there were still more creatures, and they were getting closer. The Pantherwoman fought with all her might, but the numbers were starting to overwhelm them. Character name knew they couldn't keep this up for long. He had to do something. But what? He was just a regular guy. He wasn't a fighter, and he had no idea how to defend himself. Suddenly, the Pantherwoman turned to him, her eyes meeting his with an intensity that sent a shiver down his spine. "You have to help me," she said, her voice steady but urgent. "Use your power. You have it within you. It's time." He stared at her, his mind racing. What was she talking about? Power. He had no idea what she meant, but something about the way she looked at him made him believe her. Maybe it was the sheer confidence in her eyes, or maybe it was the way she had protected him, as if she knew he was capable of more than he thought. But how could he help? He didn't even know where to start. The creatures were closing in again, and the Pantherwoman was starting to tire. She was still fighting with everything she had, but character name could see the strain in her movements. He couldn't let her do this alone. Without thinking, he raised his hand. His palm was open, facing the nearest creature, and he focused all his attention on it, hoping for something to happen. He didn't know what he was doing. He was just following his instincts, trusting the Pantherwoman's words. The creature stopped in its tracks, its eyes narrowing as if it sensed something changing in the air. And then it happened. A strange energy surged within him, something powerful and warm, like a deep ancient force rising from within. His hand began to glow, a faint light shining from his palm. The creature recoiled, hissing in fear, as if it could sense the power radiating from him. It was a strange feeling, like he had unlocked something inside himself that had been hidden for a long time. He didn't understand it, but it felt right. The Pantherwoman looked at him, her expression shifting from urgency to something more like surprise. "That's it," she said, her voice filled with awe. "You're using your power. Now, keep going." He didn't need any more encouragement. The power surged again, stronger this time, as he focused on the creatures around him. The light from his hand grew brighter, and the creatures hesitated, their movements slowing. They seemed to be retreating, their glowing eyes flickering with confusion and fear. They didn't know what was happening, but they knew they were no match for the power radiating from character name. The Pantherwoman stepped forward, her eyes filled with determination. "Don't stop," she urged. "We need to drive them back." With a deep breath, character name gathered every ounce of strength within him and pushed the power outward. The light from his palm expanded, forming a barrier that surrounded them. The creatures shrieked in pain as the light washed over them, their bodies disintegrating into nothingness. One by one, they disappeared, their dark forms fading away into the night. When the last creature vanished, the alley fell silent. The air was still, the tension gone. Character name stood there, panting, his hand still glowing faintly. He couldn't believe what had just happened. He had done it. He had used his power, his real power, for the first time. The Pantherwoman turned to him, a look of pride in her eyes. "You did it," she said, her voice softer now, full of respect. "You've awakened. There's no turning back now." Character name looked at his hand, the light slowly fading, and he realized she was right. His life had just changed forever. The night was still, the chaos of the previous moments fading into a quiet calm. Character name stood there, his heart still pounding in his chest. The creatures were gone, vanished into the shadows, but the strange power within him remained. His hand tingled, as if the energy was still alive, pulsing beneath his skin. The Pantherwoman, standing beside him, seemed calm, as if the battle had never even happened. She had been so confident in his abilities, so certain that he could protect them. But character name was still reeling. What had just happened? He had never known he was capable of anything like that. He had always been an ordinary person, no special talents, no remarkable skills. But now, in a matter of moments, he had destroyed creatures that were unlike anything he had ever seen. And somehow it felt right, like he had always known how to do it, buried deep inside him. He looked at the Pantherwoman. What was that? How did I do that? I've never. She interrupted him, her voice steady. It's not just a gift. It's who you are. Your power has always been inside you. You were chosen to awaken it. Character name blinked in confusion. But I'm just a normal guy. I don't understand any of this. Why me? Why now? The Pantherwoman's glowing eyes softened, and she looked at him with a mixture of understanding and something deeper, something that spoke of long histories and ancient truths. You are more than you know. Character name. Your world, Earth, has always been a place of great potential. But it has been hidden, kept from those who would understand it. Your connection with me, it's no accident. He swallowed hard, still struggling to grasp the full weight of her words. So I was chosen. Chosen for what? To fight, she said simply. You have a role to play in something much larger than you realize, something that has been brewing for centuries. She paused for a moment, her eyes scanning the dark street, as if making sure no one was listening. Your power, the energy you just unleashed, is ancient. It has been passed down through generations, through bloodlines that are long forgotten. But it has always been there, dormant, waiting for the right person to awaken it. And you are that person. A cold chill ran down his spine. What am I supposed to do with this power? How can I fight anything? I've never fought anyone in my life. She smiled, but it was a small, knowing smile. You don't need to fight the way they do. The creatures you face tonight, they were only the beginning. There are more, worse things coming, but you don't need to be a warrior. Your power is different. It comes from understanding, from connecting with the world around you. The world around me, character name repeated, confused. What do you mean? The power you've just unlocked connects you to the very fabric of the universe, she explained. It's the energy that flows through all things. The trees, the ground, the stars in the sky, everything is connected. You can feel it, understand it, and use it. It's not just about brute strength. It's about harmony, about balance. He shook his head, trying to wrap his mind around it. But I don't know how to do that. I don't even know where to start. You'll learn, she said, her tone reassuring. You've already started. That energy you felt when you fought, it's just the beginning. The more you understand it, the more you'll be able to do. But first, You need to understand me. Understand you? He asked, his voice quiet. Why? What do you have to do with all of this? The Pantherwoman took a step closer, her eyes never leaving his. I was sent to guide you. My race, we have watched over your world for centuries. We have seen many come and go, but you are different. You have the potential to change everything, to stop the coming darkness. What darkness? Character name asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Her eyes darkened, and for the first time, there was a flicker of something almost sorrowful in them. The creatures you fought tonight, they are only scouts. The real threat is far worse. There are forces beyond your world, alien forces that wish to take what they cannot have. They seek to control your planet, to enslave its people, to feed off its resources. They have been waiting for the right moment. And now, they are coming. He felt a knot tighten in his stomach. And you, what's your role in this? My people have been fighting this war for longer than you can imagine. We have tried to protect Earth, but our powers are not enough. That's why we've been searching for someone like you, someone with the potential to awaken their true power, someone who can unite this energy, control it, and use it to stop the invaders. The weight of her words hit him like a punch to the gut. The fate of his world, his planet, was in his hands. And all this time, he had been living his normal life, unaware of the battle brewing just beneath the surface. So what now? He asked, his voice barely audible. Now you train, she said firmly. You learn how to control your power. You understand your role. You will not fight alone. There are others like you, and together, we will stop them. But first, you must be ready. The battle will come sooner than you think. Character name stood there, the weight of her words pressing down on him. He had always thought of himself as ordinary, as someone who lived a simple life. But now, that life seemed like a distant memory. His world had just shifted in a way he couldn't fully understand. But one thing was clear. He had no choice but to accept this new reality, to step into the role he was born for, and to prepare for the fight that would determine the fate of everything he knew. The following weeks were a whirlwind of intense training and sleepless nights. Character name had never imagined that his life would turn into this, being trained by an alien warrior, learning how to use powers he never knew he had. Each day, he felt more and more like a stranger in his own life, but also like someone was awakening inside him. Something powerful, something ancient. The Pantherwoman, whose name he had learned was Kaya, was a strict teacher. Every day, she pushed him to his limits, testing his control over the strange energy that surged within him. At first, it had been overwhelming, the power too much for him to handle. His attempts to use it had often ended in failure. His hand would glow, the air would buzz, but nothing would happen. And when things did happen, they weren't always under his control. But Kaya was patient, teaching him to focus, to connect with the world around him. Feel the energy, she would say. It's not just inside you, it's all around you. The trees, the wind, the stars, they are all part of the same force. Learn to listen to it. Slowly, he began to understand. The power was not something to force or control with brute strength. It was about connection, about harmony. Every time he let go of his fear and allowed himself to become one with the energy, the world around him seemed to respond. He could sense the heartbeat of the earth beneath his feet, the subtle pulse of life in every living thing. And when he focused, the energy would flow through him, calm and steady. But it wasn't enough. Kaya knew that. You are stronger than this. Character name, she would say. You have the potential to do more than just defend yourself. You need to learn how to protect others. That was the part character name struggled with the most, understanding the responsibility that came with his power. He had never been a fighter, never wanted to be. He was just an ordinary man who wanted to live a quiet life. But now, that life seemed like a distant dream. There were people out there who needed him, people who didn't even know the danger they were in. And then one day, The danger came. They had been in the middle of a training session when Kaya's expression changed. The air seemed to thicken, the light around them dimming. Her eyes scanned the horizon, alert and focused. Character name felt a strange shift in the atmosphere, as though the world itself was holding its breath. "They're here," Kaya said, her voice low and filled with urgency. Before character name could respond, the ground beneath them began to shake. The earth trembled, sending ripples through the air. It was like the very world was reacting to the threat. In the distance, they heard the unmistakable sound of ships, huge, metallic crafts descending from the sky. The invaders were here. Kaya grabbed character name's arm, her grip firm. "This is it. They've come for Earth. It's time to fight." He looked up at her, his mind racing. "What do I do? I'm not ready for this." "You're more ready than you think," she said, her voice steady. "We don't have time to waste. You have to trust in yourself, trust in your power. You can't do this alone." The ground shook again, and from the distance, they could see the alien ships coming closer. They were massive, their black metal bodies reflecting the light of the sun as they descended toward the city. Character name felt a wave of panic rise in his chest. These were the creatures Kaya had warned him about, the invaders who wanted to take over the Earth. But what could he do against them? He was just one man. But then Kaya stepped forward, her eyes never leaving the ships. "Follow me," she said, and in that moment, character name knew she was more than just his guide. She was his ally, his partner in this fight. Together, they would face whatever came. As they sprinted toward the city center, the first of the alien soldiers appeared. They were unlike anything character name had ever seen. Tall, armored beings, their faces hidden behind helmets, their bodies encased in black, reflective armor. They moved with the precision of a well-trained army, a cold, calculated force. Kaya didn't hesitate. She rushed toward the nearest soldier, her movements fluid and fast. She was a blur, her body flowing like water as she dodged the alien's weapon, leaping into the air and landing a powerful kick to its chest. The soldier stumbled back, momentarily disoriented, but Kaya was already on the move, her claws extending as she closed the distance between them. With a swift motion, she disabled the soldier, knocking it unconscious before moving on to the next. Character name watched, wide-eyed, as Kaya took down one soldier after another with ease. He knew he had to help, but he didn't know where to start. He felt the power surging in his veins, but he still wasn't sure how to use it. Then, as another soldier charged toward him, character name felt a strange calm wash over him. He raised his hand, focusing on the energy within him. This time, instead of fear, he felt a deep connection to the world around him. The energy flowed like a river through his veins, and without thinking, he extended his hand toward the soldier. The air around him shimmered, and a burst of light shot from his palm, hitting the soldier square in the chest. The soldier was thrown back, its body crashing to the ground with a deafening thud. Character name stared at his hand in disbelief. He had done it. He had used his power to fight back. Kaya turned to him, a look of approval in her eyes. "Good. Now, keep going." With that, character name dove into the battle. He fought beside Kaya, using his newfound power to protect the city, to protect the people he had once thought of as ordinary. Every burst of energy he unleashed brought a sense of purpose, of belonging. He wasn't just fighting for his own survival anymore. He was fighting for everyone. For Earth. For the future. The battle raged on, but for the first time, character name felt a sense of hope. He wasn't alone. He had Kaya, and he had his power. And together, they would stop the invaders. The battle had raged on for hours. Character name and Kaya had fought side by side, their movements synchronized, their energy blending with the pulse of the earth beneath their feet. The invaders, though powerful, were relentless, but character name could feel the power inside him growing stronger with every passing moment. He wasn't the same man who had walked into the alley weeks ago. He had changed. The world had changed. But as the battle continued, something shifted. The ground trembled beneath their feet, the air heavy with a strange energy. The alien ships, once high above in the sky, had descended even further. And with them, more soldiers, more powerful than ever, began to pour from the ships. Character name felt a deep sense of urgency. This wasn't just a skirmish anymore. This was the final stand. Kaya, ever the warrior, had not slowed. She was still fighting, still taking down soldiers with the same fluid grace and precision she had shown from the very beginning. Her glowing eyes never wavered from their target. But now she seemed to be scanning the horizon, as if looking for something or someone. "We need to push them back." Character name, Kaya said, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We don't have much time. The leader of this invasion is here. We need to stop them now." "Who is he?" Character name asked, his breath heavy, his muscles sore from the battle. "What's stopping us from just taking him down?" Kaya's eyes narrowed. "He's different. He's not like the others. He commands them. He has control over their energy. If we don't stop him, they'll never leave, and Earth will fall." Character name could feel the weight of her words. The power inside him buzzed in his veins, but it was no longer just about fighting. It was about saving everything. The people, the planet, the future. Kaya had trained him, but now he had to trust himself. He had to be more than just a warrior. He had to be a protector. "Where is he?" he asked, determination hardening his voice. Kaya pointed toward the tallest ship, the one hovering above the center of the city. At its base, a figure stood, watching them. His form was cloaked in dark armor, his face hidden behind a mask. Even from a distance, character name could feel the overwhelming presence of the invader. He wasn't just a soldier. He was a leader. And the weight of his power pressed down on everything around them. "We go together," Kaya said, her voice steady and calm. "We face him head-on. You're ready. But remember," character name, "this battle isn't about strength alone. It's about control, balance." Without another word, Kaya surged forward, moving like a shadow in the night. Character name followed her, pushing his fear aside and focusing on the energy that now pulsed inside him. The closer they got to the leader, more the air seemed to vibrate with power. It was like a thick wall pressing against him, making it harder to breathe. When they reached the base of the towering ship, the leader finally spoke. His voice was cold, almost mechanical, as if it came from the very heart of the ship itself. "Foolish beings," he said, his voice reverberating in the air. "You think you can stop me? You think you can stop the inevitable? My forces are too great. Your world is mine." Kaya didn't hesitate. She charged at the leader, but as she neared, an invisible force knocked her back, sending her crashing to the ground. Character name rushed forward, his hand glowing as he prepared to unleash his power. But the leader simply raised his hand, and the energy around them rippled. "You have no idea what you're up against," the leader said, his voice dripping with superiority. "You're nothing. Just pawns in a game you can't even begin to understand." "We understand more than you think," Kaya said, pushing herself to her feet, her eyes glowing with fierce determination. "We're not pawns. We're the future." With those words, she leaped again, faster this time, her body moving with the precision of a striking panther. The leader raised his hand once more, but this time, character name felt the power inside him surge like never before. He could feel the world around him, the energy flowing through everything. It wasn't just his power anymore. It was the world's power, the Earth's power. He stretched out his hand, and the energy erupted from him like a tidal wave. The force collided with the leader's shield, creating a shockwave that shook the ground beneath them. For a moment, it felt like time itself had stopped. The leader's mask cracked, revealing the face beneath. Alien, yet somehow human-like, twisted in anger and disbelief. "You?" the leader hissed, his voice faltering as the energy from character name overwhelmed him. The battle that followed was unlike anything character name had ever imagined. He and Kea fought together, their powers working in unison, pushing the invader back, step by step. The leader struggled to maintain control, his own power cracking under the weight of the attack. Finally, with a final surge of energy, character name launched a blast so powerful that it shattered the leader's shield completely, sending him crashing to the ground. For a moment, there was silence. The invaders, leaderless, hesitated, their resolve crumbling. Kea stood by character name, both of them breathing heavily, watching the invaders retreat. The battle was over. But character name felt a strange emptiness settle over him. The war had ended, but there was a cost. The power he had unlocked, the energy of the earth itself, had taken its toll. He wasn't sure how long he could keep this up. He wasn't sure what came next. Kea turned to him, her eyes soft with respect. "You did it, character name. You saved us all." He nodded slowly, the weight of her words sinking in. "But what happens now? What do I do with all this power?" She stepped closer to him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You live. You help protect this world. You use your power for good. You're not alone in this fight. I'm with you." In that moment, character name understood. This wasn't just about fighting. It was about protecting everything he loved. The earth, the people, the future. He wasn't just an ordinary man anymore. He was something more, something the world needed. And as he looked toward the horizon, he knew that no matter what came next, he was ready.